What's going on, guys? At today's video, we're going to be working on the Seadoo boat, but not necessarily the boat itself. On the last video, if you guys haven't checked it out, we completely detailed this thing, got it looking almost as good as it can get, and pretty dang good in my opinion. But what we're working on now are the seats. So I did get the, I'm probably going to mess up how you say this, the Mimi top, like the sunshade. That's right here, brand new in the box. But the priority for this video is getting these seats back to looking normal. You can drive the boat with decent seats and without the top, but you can't really drive it without the seats, right? So I figured priority here, get those done, and I honestly don't think that's going to take all that long to do. This, on the other hand, it's a bit of a project. So I'll show you guys what we got. All of the covers have to come off, and I purchased a kit online that comes with all the covers. You can see here we got foam damage. The bases all look fine, everything else looks fine. Just all the backrest on the very top, we've got some issues. So I also purchased foam. So what I'm going to do is any of these major issue sections, I'm going to cut out that chunk and then I'm going to glue in a new piece of foam and then shape it. So right here, for example, I'll cut that out, put in a new piece, shape it, and do it from there. It's not, I mean, most of them are okay, maybe just a little skim here and there. So we'll just do it as necessary. I think the hardest part of this is going to be taking off the old covers. It just depends how perfect you want it to be. So in the instructions it says you can honestly, if you don't want to take out all these staples, you can just cut the old material off. We'll see how easy or how hard it is to start getting these staples out. If they end up being a pain in the butt, I might just take their advice and just leave the staples rather than worrying about it, because once we fire new staples over top, you're never going to see these ones anyways. So that's the situation with that, and I'll show you guys all the pads and everything are here. I'm gonna end up doing the actual upholstery part inside since it's AC. And then here is our foam. It is all condensed right now in this. So this is high density foam, marine grade stuff. Here's all of our covers all laid out. So you can see here, seat base and the back all matching. So all four, these are these little things that kind of go in the middle, so that goes in there. There's four of those. We've got two spots or two yellow pieces for those triangles, two for the side armrests, and then that goes on the back, kind of like the back deck area where you would like climb up and over. I don't think I can do that just yet because mine's not terrible and I have a ton of work to do, and I'm just gonna save that for a later date. So I'm gonna do the bare minimum for now, and then when I get bored, I'll replace that later since mine is in okay shape. And then they also have like all these trim things that go around all the armrest stuff. So the armrest and then that thing, they give you this little stuff that you staple around to kind of finish it off. So everything is here, you guys, just a matter of getting it done. Also have an air stapler there with stainless steel staples. Definitely want to make sure they're stainless because you don't want them rusting. So right now I'm going to start disassembling the seats and then we'll see how far we get. All right, so I'm just understanding how these all come apart. I've taken off one seat back and one base, and this gets riveted with 5 rivets to the bottom of there. So you have to drill those out, and then it's got like, I don't want to call it a seal, but like the crappiest plastic around the foam. I'm actually going to remove it just so that this can breathe a little bit more. You can obviously see, I don't know if that's an issue, but you can kind of see like the mold or whatever that's being trapped in by this little bag. So I'm just going to remove that. That way this stuff can breathe a little bit more. Plus it's already like, you know, just kind of sitting here. The other thing I just did was I went to the store and I got a couple things. I got some rivets. So we need some 3/16 rivets to put this back together. I got some 60 grit sanding blocks, and I got some spray glue, and you can see here I've got our foam out of the package. So we've got this nice high density foam, and what I'm gonna do is just cut out a chunk from here as nice as possible, and then I'm gonna shape it back in. So I'll try to get it as close as I can with the knife, and then I'm gonna use a sanding block to contour it in. And like I said, I'm just gonna cut out the section and then I'll glue it into place and try to recreate the shape. Same thing with over here. Obviously try to do a smaller chunk. I don't wanna get carried away if I don't have to. And just recreate these seat backs. Luckily the bases are okay, it's just the seat backs we're gonna have to do this customization. So let me keep messing with it. I just wanna get the first one under my belt, and then I'll kind of get into the groove of things, and I'll be able to show you guys how to do it all. Okay, so after many hours of trying to get everything dialed in, I did my first seat base. I think it came out really good, you guys. That's how she looks. And just for comparison, there's the old crusty one. So you can hear the material. This one nice and soft, and came out really good, but I just had to figure it out, like I said, you know, how to get this all stretched and pulled properly. The other thing too is this material is very soft. So I was trying to dial in the air nailer to get it to come out like this. And I actually went through 2 guns. So I'm trying to turn down the pressure. It's an air gun, but the problem is that material is so thin that you can just fire right through it. And I was trying to turn it back, but then you turn the air pressure down too much, and then the gun doesn't operate. So I got one off of Amazon that I showed you, and then I went to Home Depot and got this Arrow one, but it's almost behaving the same way. You turn down the pressure too much, it doesn't fire. You try to turn it up a little bit, and it just blows through the material. So that's what I've been dealing with. I might have to try to invest in a more expensive air gun that has some sort of pressure as far as you know, nailing. So, you know, turning it up or turning it down as far as the intensity. But right now, these standard ones, you can only adjust your air pressure. There's no actual tension setting or anything like that. So here's the outcome of the foam. So I got the foam in here. It doesn't have to look perfect. By the time your cover goes over top of it, it will kind of go into place. So you can see I glued it all in. So came out pretty good. I think what I'm gonna do from now on the other ones is, rather than cut out a huge chunk, I'm just gonna do like this. I actually saw another YouTube video on, it was actually an older Sea-Doo boat. And instead of like cutting out a massive chunk like I did here, they kind of just did what I did here. There was a couple just like almost like cat claws over here, and they just put a little chunk of it and just kind of glued it into place like that, rather than go through the efforts of taking out a massive chunk like that. That's what I did here. There was like that one round oval chunk out here, almost like egg shape, and I just put the foam into there and did it like that. So I'm gonna keep doing that. Let me wrap this one, and then I'll have an idea of how to do this. I have an idea how to do that, and then I'll show you guys. So here's the old, and you can look, you can literally just put your finger right through it. The stuff is so dried out, but let me get going. Hey, check that out, boys. That looks pretty decent, if I may say so myself. So got this all done. This all looks good. You guys remember there was like big chunks everywhere and stuff missing, so looks really good. Everything came out really good. I even put this thing in the back. If you guys ever end up doing this, there's like 2 rivets that hold this in, and I couldn't get the rivets to bite for whatever reason, so I just decided to go ahead and just put it in without it. And I mean, I can pick this whole thing up from this piece with no rivets in it, so I think we're good there. Only other thing is that little horseshoe thing that goes in there. So, but I think I am going to, at the moment, rip through the actual seats themselves, and then I'll deal with the little horseshoe guys. I'll just smash all the horseshoes out at the end of it. Since I'm kind of in the groove of the top and the bottom, this is honestly easier than that. I pretty much just anchored it here and then just stretched it around the outside once I got this all lined up. And I learned a few things here. There's like a 2-step thing here. If you guys ever end up doing this step, don't even bother trying to put staples in it there. Just stretch it to here and go here. From the factory, it's stapled there, but this material is so soft that it'll end up just tearing. So you'll see here, like it's stapled in here. And what I did was I just stretched it here and stapled up here, because to try to get it in here and then try to stretch it up over here, it was like trying to tear those out. So this is a better way, in my opinion. Everything's trimmed out. Everything looks good. There's the sides. I think it looks pretty good, and that's how she's gonna look all there. So no wrinkles, managed to get it all looking pretty, you guys. So I'm super happy with it. I'm sure the next ones will be even better as I get into the swing of things, but let me get the other ones going. Okay, so I'm on my last seat bottom that I'm removing the material from. So I just wanna show you guys the fastest, easiest way to remove these. Get yourself one of these little pry tools. It's not quite a flat or a slot head. It says pry, so it's on an angle and it's sharp, so you can get underneath the staples. What I did was went around, pry all these staples out, and you're gonna end up popping them up, and then take a pair of needle nose and then twist them. And that's how you're gonna get them to fully come out. You can see the pile of them over there. I would remove all of these ones. For the back side of the seat, what I would recommend doing, just to save yourself time and your own sanity, is just cut around the material. And I removed these, so I popped all these, I cut this, and then I cut out this section. You'll see it's double stapled here and stapled along there. I just cut that out. So what you're left with is this. So barely any material, but just saves you a boatload of time. So you can see here, I just have this little strip right there on each side. So hardly an issue, but just makes it a lot easier for you to redo it without going crazy, taking up 5 million staples. And then right here across the front, I removed those. So same deal here. You can see how it is. And just like that. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this one out, get that cover off, and then I'll show you guys my process for actually wrapping the seat bottoms. Okay guys, so I'm gonna show you the seat bottoms. So lay your fabric down, I guess the top down, and then what you're gonna do is slide this in like this. And what we're gonna do is, I'm using this yellow portion here to center the cover on the actual seat base. So you'll notice these two slots here. What I do is I bring the yellow up, and then I make sure the distance from this side to this is the same between the yellow piece. So let me slide this in here and I'll show you. Okay, so here's what I mean. See this yellow piece? I push this here and I try to make this gap from this line to here as similar as possible. And then as far as like, how much to pull it down or the other way, these ribs right here, I'm lining up with here. So that pretty much sweeps around and comes in line with that ridge there. So on here, and then you slide it across. And what we do on this side is you want to come down and bring this down enough that you can have enough material for here. You can kind of mess with it a little bit, and this seam ends up getting hidden by that cushion that goes in here. So what I end up doing is kind of just getting it about there, but the most important thing is getting this centered on the seat. So I come over there, right around there is pretty decent. And like I said, I don't have an exact measurement for you guys, but right about there seems to be where they're all ending up. And what I do is I tack it in place right on the seam. So I'll put 2 staples here to hold this, and then I'll follow through with a few more staples just in this yellow section. And then I go around and then I take this and I tack it to the inside, and then you gotta stretch it this way, and I'll show you that in a second. So let me get this tacked down right here, and then I'll show you guys the next step. Okay, so there we go. We've got this tacked down, like you can see there. Our yellow is lined up nice. So now I'm gonna come around over here. This is probably gonna be I don't want to say the hardest part, but this fabric is really easy to tear. So you're gonna come down in here, and we're gonna just fire a bunch of staples here, so you kind of have to hold it at the same time as we fire a bunch of staples in here. Might tear a little bit, just the nature of it, until we get a bunch of them holding it, because this is like the most stressed portion right here. Okay, so there we go. Now we got the center tacked down. And pretty much what we're gonna do is you're gonna come around the back and you're gonna see this is all loose. What I like to do is pull this over here like that. Just get it as tight as possible. Don't worry about the excess. You're gonna end up having to tuck it and fold it later, but pull this as tight as you can because you don't want wrinkles. And that's gonna tighten, firm up all this here. So usually about there. Then I'll just fire in a couple staples over here just to hold it for now. I'll do the same with this side. Same thing, we're gonna stretch it around. It is gonna overhang. No big deal. Same thing, tack a couple staples. And now pretty much what we're gonna do is work on the front. So what we do is, or I do, I guess, is come in here and you're just gonna work your way around. So I'm just gonna fire a bunch of staples in, pressing down. Pretty much you're gonna try to keep this line, this trim line, parallel, like same gap all the way around as you come around. So whatever gap you maintained here, try to maintain all along. So you can see there, I can push that down. Fire in some staples. And we're just gonna do the same thing all around. The staple gun is very inconsistent. Sometimes it fires staples, sometimes it doesn't, so. Okay, so same deal. Let's get that there. Okay, so as you can see, we got most of our staples here, and the seat's already pretty firm. Like you can see there, we don't have any real wrinkles, and we haven't even pulled it down on the sides here yet. So it kind of just sets itself up. Next up, what I like to do is there's a row of staples that goes here, and then it kind of comes through here, comes here, and then goes down that way. So I like to take this, kind of pull it up through here, and just kind of work this material up. Try to just get this little pocket out of here, and we're gonna take this and fire in a bunch right here. And then this portion, you're going to continue on from here. So I like to hit the seam first because that way it doesn't tear. I'll work way back. And then this just comes across here. Okay, so that's that. So I'm just gonna do the other side, and then I'll show you guys what we do with these little flaps here. Okay, so now as far as these flaps, you guys choose what you wanna do. What I ended up doing is I just trim them to the edge here. So that way I just have less to have to fold in. So I just kind of do like that. Same thing with this side, and then I'll fold them in and I'll staple them in a fold. Okay, so once that's done, what I do is I take this piece and I fold it in. I'll hit it with one staple just to hold it. And then I'll just take this and I'll continue to staple down. You don't see this very back part, so it's not like it looks out of place or weird or anything. So pretty much like that. I might trim this. This is all gonna get trimmed out, so just like that. But like I said, from here, and this is seat back, so you don't see it. It just looks as it should. After that, pretty much just go around and just trim off all your excess material. So just take a sharp knife. You guys have to know how to do this part. It's probably the most easy part or rewarding part of the stapling portion. This is probably the most rewarding part or easiest part out of the whole job. So just go around and trim it up. All right, so I'm just taking all the seat back covers off. I just wanted to show you guys how these come apart. The kit doesn't come with this mesh stuff, so you do have to reuse those meshes, which whatever, the meshes don't really fail. So mesh is mesh, right? You have to very carefully pop out all the staples around the mesh. Not only is it stapled here, but it's also stapled here. That's fun. Once you get that out, then you're gonna see two rivets underneath. You drill those out, and then this whole mesh with this little plate comes out like so. And then after that, that's pretty much the only staples that I take out. I just take out the ones off the mesh, and the rest I just cut around it and cut around the edge, and then you're left with that basically. So yeah, there I just went ahead and did that. If you got nothing better to do and you want to pop out every staple, go for it. But once you put the new fabric on, you're going to pass the old fabric, so you're not really even going to see it. But yeah, so we got to do that. Let me take this one off. I just want to kind of give you guys a tip on that. And then I got to fill all of these little chunks that are missing here before we put the new covers on. All right, so this is taking a long time, you guys, but we got 4 seat bases, 3 seat backs, and I'm on the final one. So I'm going to show you guys the process. So out of that whole big ass chunk of foam, I only use a tiny little corner of it. And this is probably the ugliest one, so I saved this one for you guys. I just have a bunch of little chunks shoved into the places where there was missing chunks. You guys might be able to make this prettier. It doesn't even matter, honestly. I really thought that I was going to need to sand it and make it perfect. By the time this mat's down, you can't even tell with the fabric on top of it. So anyways, that's all in place. So let me grab this and let me show you guys how to do the seat back. Same deal as before. Put your cover down like that, and then take this, slide it in from the front, and then pull these winglets over it. So I'll show you guys that. All right, so once you stretch it over, in my opinion, doing the seat backs is much easier than the bases because they're really easy to line up. Essentially what you're gonna do is put it over the top. This here, this seam line lines up with this ridge here. So just follow that. So that is gonna line up there all the way along. And then this corner, you pretty much butt it up here. So just stretch this over. I might have this one off a little bit, but essentially that just goes over there like you see there. And yeah, because what you're gonna wanna do is just kind of follow the colors. So the fact that the gray is here, that's the sides. So you want that to be as squared up as possible. I gotta pull it over a little bit more. And then once you have all that lined up, like I said, I didn't bother with stapling in here because I found that it rips the material. I've been just stapling up to the top and just stretching across there, and it's been working out beautifully on all these. So as you can see here, it's been coming out really good. In my opinion, it doesn't make a difference stapling it into that corner, but do as you please. I just found that when I was trying to get it into the corner here and trying to make that 90 degree, it was causing this material to rip. So let me get this squared up here, and then I'll show you guys the first staples. So that's pulled up to there. Like I said, I wanted to get that up a little bit higher. And this is just kind of a rough cutout, so don't pay too much attention to this. You're gonna end up cutting that out. Just make sure it fits all nice through here. And you could, in my opinion, you could, I guess, start with that, but really, this is gonna be the first place to start because you wanna make sure that this is all tucked in. So I would start here, and then we'll move to the top. Hold it up. You can maybe get a second set of hands, however you wanna do it. You're in a bunch of staples so you don't tear it, and then you're just going to work your way around. So same thing, just stretch it so that this horseshoe thing continues to line up. Probably tell I've already done the other ones because it took me a little bit to get into a bit of a rhythm here. Some more staples. So now that we got this all tacked in, like I said, that's all good to go. Now we're gonna start the top. So you just wanna line up your seam that's right here with the edge, so you can pull it down a bit. Doesn't hurt. And then you can end up trimming this all out afterwards to line up. So that's most of that there. And we're gonna cut all this stuff in a minute. The bottom here, I like to pull this up and get this situated. So from the bottom, since we did the top, we anchored the top. Now we can go ahead and anchor this bottom, at least with a couple staples. Same with this side. Run this down. So far so good, as you can see, coming out beautifully. And then the rest is pretty, you're like home stretch now. So what I like to do is, there seems to be like a seam here, as you can see it kind of naturally wants to fold. As soon as you pull it up, because you want to get a bit of side tension and try to draw a straight line with this, I'm finding that I'm gonna have to, I usually have to put like a little seam there, so a little fold. And then I just anchor it across there. All right, so now we've got everything stapled down. Everything looks good from this side. And this is where this might be You guys can debate this or argue this, but I tried on one of them poking the holes through and trying to get it to rivet to the seat, but I really wasn't having that much success with it. So what I ended up doing was I put this in, and from the factory you'll notice when you take these out, there's a couple staples holding it, and more or less is just a bar to hold the mesh. It's not really doing anything structural. So what I did was I just put it in and I stapled it all the way around, and I just held everything in with staples instead of trying to put the rivets back in, and those ones are holding beautifully. So I would just go that route if I were you, but again, your call on that, whether you want to try to put this in and put staples all in there as well. I think these are better. Doing it this way, you don't risk ripping it, and we're going to end up even putting more staples once we put this on as well. So let me get this in place and I'll show you guys. Okay, so just use a couple staples there to actually anchor it, and then and this is all where the factory staples are, I'm not adding anything. But once you put, oh, we're out of staples again. Yeah, once you put all these factory staples in place, like this thing doesn't go anywhere, so I'm gonna staple this to the actual bar, and then just go around and staple this thing. Okay, so look, I'm literally picking up the whole thing from the bar. I think we're good. All right, so everything's trimmed out. Seat backs are done. Now let's do those horseshoes that go on the seat bases. Okay, home stretch, you guys. This is a lot of work. I would be lying if I said it was something that can be done very quickly. If you want to do it right, you want it to come out like this, looking flawless without wrinkles, you're gonna have to take your time. I'm like 2 days into this now, but here's these little horseshoe things. I did those 3 because I wanted to, to get those under my belt first. This is the old stuff. I almost was debating leaving these, and I'm glad that I didn't, just because how faded they look, and the material is really hard and dried out, whereas this is like a nice soft and looks like a lot nicer piece to sit on. So as far as these, they give you quite a bit of excess material here. So once you get them all taken apart and stuff, make sure you take the rivets out so you can just pull the foam back and just use a pair of side cutters and just grab it and pull the rivet the rest of the way through. That's how I got those out. And then if you want to take off all the material or just do kind of like I did, either way is going to work. And you're left with this horseshoe thing. So put this in here. This kit comes with quite a bit extra material, I found out. The most out of any of the pieces that I've done so far. There's like way excess on these things at least. I thought these were going to be the easiest, but I still think the seat backs are the easiest. They fit kind of funny, honestly, at first. So here you go, it's a big tooth. So when you put this on here, you're going to notice like this has like a ton of material. And like to try to stretch this seems absolutely insane. So what I ended up doing was I get this situated. Make sure your corners are where you want them, essentially. The ends of the teeth, the roots of the teeth or tooth. And then what I did was I lined up all the time. It's getting dirty here. But every time you see these seams, pretty much they're going to line up with your edge. So what I did was I pulled it till I was happy with that edge. And then I put 2 staples here, same thing, pull that, make that line up, a couple staples here, and then I'll show you what I do next. I took off about 1 inch of material here, just because trying to stretch this here through this valley is a lot harder with more material, I found. So I took off like 1 inch of material, and then I was able to, still got to stretch the crap out of it, but still able to do it. So let me tack this and I'll show you guys what I mean. Okay, so there you go. So I've got these 2 tacked in place here, like I was mentioning. And don't worry about this just yet, because once you pull this around the front, it'll pull all that out. But what I do next is I take a sharp knife and literally just about 1 inch or so, I cut off of this gray portion here. And don't worry too much about how you finish it off over here, because you're gonna end up cutting a bunch off here once you finish everything. So now it just seems a little bit easier to stretch. So might help to have some extra hands. Same thing, this seam line, you're gonna want it to be on that edge there. And you gotta stretch the crap out of this. And land like 4 staples up here just to get this thing to hold. Like this thing is under a ton of tension. So pretty much like that. Gotta get it up here. And then fire some staples in right here. It's just under a lot of tension, whatever way they made this tooth section. Trust me, I'm trying not to staple my hands. It's just what I'm dealt with here. Okay, so now we kind of start to get into the swing of things. You can start stretching this out here. You can kind of tell I've already done 3 of them, so. So there, now this is starting to take shape as we want it. So let's start pulling all these. Still fighting with the staple gun. This thing's been missing staples all day. It's what I got, so I'm just dealing with it, but I don't recommend this gun. All right. So now we can anchor the top. So we're gonna take this and just work the material, kind of roll it like a little wave. And work it to the sides a little bit, where you want it to end up. And the wrinkles will come out. For this, you can see my stitch, whatever way they did it, kind of looks a little bit funky. But just get a straight line on your stitch going all the way around. And we can anchor it here. So I'll throw 3 here. And then start working your side profile, and it'll take these wrinkles out. So there you go, you can see most of our wrinkles are out, and I don't even have all the staples in. So see how it goes like this and falls down? So what you want to do is just maintain a straight line, so you'll roll it up like that, just as you go. So see how now it's got a straight line that follows our piece, and you just hold that. And then you got that line that follows the rest of the cushion. Okay. All right, so there we go. The other thing you have to do is your holes. Just make sure that you remove material around where the holes for the rivets go. So just run around. If you have to use your other cushion as a guide, do that and clean out all your holes. Okay, so just take a rivet, make sure that you can pass it through all of your holes, no problem. And now we can mount it to the actual seat, but here's the result. So now you mount these back in here. So you put the little tooth back into the center. And then just go ahead and line up your holes for your rivets. And just put all the rivets in place. Make sure everything is tight and butted up before you start popping 1 or 2 of them in, because you don't want to anchor one rivet and the rest of the holes aren't lined up or something crazy. So almost forgot. So this here, like I said, you can put the rivets on this, but I've just been stapling it into place instead. All right, and there you go, guys. So the seats are complete and they look amazing, you guys. And I'll show you guys in better lighting in the morning here. Okay, next day, you guys, I'm just doing these armrest portions. So I wrapped this one. These ones are fairly straightforward. I just went from the longest edge to the other longest edge, and then I just wrapped in the ends afterwards. So they give you these fairly large portions here. Throw it face down, put it on an angle, wrap it across, tack, tack, tack. Same thing, bring this over, wrap it around, put some tacks. The way they staple it here, you can see I just left this again. If you guys want to go crazy, taking off all the old material, that's up to you. They tacked it across the top here. I just went ahead and just wrapped it all the way around and just did it on the back side. It seemed easier for me. They also have that little piping trim. I haven't decided if I'm going to put it on. I might mess with it in a second, but this is going to be the hardest part, is that. I have a couple little folds on the ends. I'm not perfect, you guys, but I think it looks pretty good. All right, so now the most exciting part is getting all these pieces in here, you guys. So boat is clean. If you guys didn't see that, we fully detailed this boat in a previous video. What I did was removed all these stupid Christmas tree clips. So I'll link down below. Get yourself one of these trim tools. It pops them out, no problem. And then the rest you can work out with a pair of side cutters. You can see here, I've got this pushed down. And what I'm going to be using is cutting strips of this industrial strength, you know, indoor outdoor Velcro. So this is what a lot of guys are using. So whatever variation, I can show you guys the one that I'm using, and I'm just going to put Velcro everywhere. Other reason is when I'm cleaning the boat, it's going to make it, you know, much nicer, so I can actually remove the seats, get this thing fully cleaned, and then put them back in. And yeah, I think it'll just be a better overall, because when I took these out, there was so much dirt stuck behind like these pads and all sorts of pads everywhere. But check out our work, boys, and maybe girls. It came out so good. I'm so happy with the outcome. And like I said, I don't really do upholstery, so it's the first time for me, but a lot of patience and just common sense, and you can get it done. Okay, you guys, this makes it all worth it in the end. So everything's in here, as you can see. Everything looks like brand spanking new. So I am super happy with how this all turned out, you guys. As far as the Velcro, I'm sure you guys can, you know, use common sense and figure out where that stuff all goes. I'm gonna probably experiment with some different kinds of Velcro and different placement of Velcro to try to get everything to stay situated. These I'll be honest, I reused those Christmas tree things. All I did was I cut off about 1 inch on them, because they were like 2 inches at least long, and when you try to put them back in, they just folded over on each other. So I just ended up cutting off like 1 inch of it, just so it's, you know, it's still got a nice bite on it, but that way these I don't have to worry about. And I still got to get some more Velcro for a few different spots, but I'm super happy with how that all turned out. So I got some more projects on the go if you guys are interested in sticking around. I didn't change this just yet. As you can see, mine's not terrible. It doesn't have any big cracks in it, but it's definitely weathered. I just that's about as much upholstery as I can handle for one sitting, so I'm going to tackle that maybe in another month or a few weeks, or whenever I feel ambitious again. Some other small stuff. I've gotten some new latches coming. These ones I didn't receive the keys to, so I don't have them operable. So I think I found a replacement for those that are cheap, if you guys have the same issue where you don't have the keys for either one of these. Also am replacing those latches. I guess they're notorious for breaking. Mine came this way. Somebody had used some RTV, so that's another thing coming. I'm going to be cleaning this up as well. So this dash bezel with the fake carbon fiber, it's all peeling off, so I'll be taking that out, cleaning that up. Also my 2 gauges, I've seen some different things. As you can see here, this one's stuck at 500 and this one's stuck at like 10 miles an hour. I've seen some fixes where you can get both your tack and your speedometer working, so I'm going to be tackling that as well. But other than that, got a lot of stuff on the go. I'm going to get a different stereo going in here too, if you guys want to, you know, follow my progress with this. This thing isn't Bluetooth as far as I'm aware, so obviously in today's day and age, I want to get some Bluetooth in here, and we'll see. We'll just keep upgrading little stuff as we go. Also, I do have the sunshade over there that I'm going to be putting on immediately, because we're going to need that as well, and we'll be able to get out and enjoy this thing. So if you guys found this helpful, informative, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up for me. A lot of work went into this. Really happy with the outcome though, you guys. This completely transformed this thing. So we'll see you guys on the next video. Subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.